Hey guys, Lukey here, coach of your Elvine City Beacons, and this is week 4 of DPDL Super Low Tier. My opponent this week is FistToYourDoom. For me, it's a bit of a low-key grudge match because well, people were wondering if I was going to take over his team during week 1 when he wasn't active for a few days, and so I've had a good look at this team, and as somebody who's jumping into things partway through. Um, you know, I this was kind of one I had marked on the calendar of can I get the first win? And here at Team Preview, you can see he brought the heavy offense. It's basically Quillfish as, spikes or toxic spikes and intimidate support, and then 5 absolute gonna slam things as hard as they can, wall breakers. So definitely not an easy match. And looking at my team, I've brought Noivern. Um, I went through a couple of drafts, and shout out to James for suggesting get rid of Scarf on Noivern, go Specs Modest, which means I outspeed everything except Jolteon and is it Wolverock? Lycanroc, with its priority. Then I've got Hisui and Electrode. So basically, my team actually is, even with my changes, I brought the same 6 mons as last week. They're just all in different roles. Avalugg is now my Terra captain, and although I got way too anxious to bring it in early, you will see it pay off in a big way. Piloswine was my Jolteon counter, which ends up not being a counter. Garbodor, I brought the exact same set, and Florges is a different variant of setup. So let's get into the match here as Tib is messaging me. I will get back to you, Tib. Turn 1, I lead with Electrode Hisui. He goes Bisharp. And I'm trying to think of what my first thought is. I mean, I'm thinking, he is, I mean, it's not a great lead for me. Um, so there's my thought process. Thunderbolt and Volt Switch are free against most of his team, except for Jolteon, the one mon that I really have to worry about. Bisharp can't kill me in one hit. I have a nice steel resist here, even with Electrode's poor bulk. And Leech Seed is free against anything that he wants to bring in. So I do that just to kind of scout and annoy. He goes to the Sucker Punch, and I get the Leech Seed up. So I then go hard into Garbodor as he brings in Jolteon. At this point, I'm thinking, don't even think about it. Just go to Piloswine. This is your counter. As he reveals Terra Steel Jolteon, and that is a huge problem. If you're looking at my team, I am extremely steel weak. And my only, sort of steel resist is Electrode, which is not good. So all of a sudden, Piloswine goes from a counter to a very shaky check, and I'm in a world of hurt. As I just decide I need to try and hit it, he predicts that, brings in Flamigo, and he's just going to scout around as I bring in Florges. And that U-turn great play allows him to bring Jolteon. And all of a sudden, I'm on the back foot again. And Florges can take a hit and wish to bring something else back, but it can't do much. So I am able to heal up Piloswine, which ended up being a really nice play long term. But here it's somewhat crippled. The knockoff gets rid of the Eviolite. But I do take the opportunity, since I was at full health, to get my rocks up and just do some shit, because this game was played at such a high speed and with so much offensive pressure from both squads that hazards were really hard to get up. So those rocks do factor in down the line. And here, you can see I've already made the move here. I switch in Avalugg Hisui, thinking, yeah, I can take a knockoff, but it's also 4 times weak to steel. What the hell was I thinking? I was at this point, I figure, well, I can probably live something and Terra. and he goes to the Iron Head. No prediction needed. I gave that to him, and here I'm taking a total. Luckily, it wasn't a roll, but here I get Terra Electric off as he knockoffs, gets rid of my boots, and I live with 7%, but I clicked recover. So I'm Terra Electric now. And the reason I picked Electric is, well, you can see it's nice and neutral against everything that he's going to bring. He's got no ground moves on this team, except maybe Lycanroc. So now all of a sudden I'm kind of in a rough spot, but Avalugg can now check a good chunk of his team. So he brings in Quillfish, and the problem for me is I think I was Rapid Spin, Recover, and 2 attacks, and none of them could hit Quillfish. So the only good thing there is I'm able to get Avalugg back to full health. And I think at this point I'm thinking I just need to get Noivern in and start doing some damage because Noivern is pretty free against most of the things that he wants to do. It takes the Scald there really well. Is this the Jolteon turn? I'm predicting, I believe, a Jolteon to come in. So this reveals that he's Boots, but Terra Steel, as I go for the Specs Flamethrower, and Timid does not kill, but Specs Modest does. And that ended up being, sort of the key moment of the match, because all of a sudden, his special attacking Steel type and offensive pivoters out of the match. And here I'm just trying to keep the pressure up as he brings in Sigilyph. And once again, my team struggling with setup. I figure, I just want to try and do as much damage to Sigilyph as possible. In hindsight here, rather than Electrode, I mean, Florges might have been the better pick, although Florges is already kind of hurt. And here, my Thunderbolt not only doesn't kill, gives him the weakness policy boost. So all of a sudden he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boosts for stored power. And obviously that's going to annihilate me. As I bring Noivern back in, and I think I ran the calc Specs Modest Draco, I believe killed from this range. So that was just the plan, was go for that. And instead I get some, nice chip off on Bisharp. Here I'm going to go back to my wall, but now that it's electric type, and without an item, it is a hard counter. But great play by my opponent. Somehow predicts this. I don't know, and goes Quillfish. So I'm in trouble. I've got to get out of there. Back in comes Florges, and it's going to take the poison attack, and I'm just going to let Florges die. It's not going to do anything. At this point in the match, most of his threats all of his remaining threats are physical except for Sigilyph. And Florges just set up fodder. So I bring in Piloswine basically to get some damage off and then die. That Scald burn, even with the burn, Earthquake still does a good amount. I'm kind of predicting a switch here, but he just goes to the KO, gets his Toxic Spikes up, Icicle Crash does nothing. It didn't really matter too much here. So Noivern comes back in. At this point, my strategy is Sack War. We're going as hard as we can, Draco Meteor, everything, because I can 2-hit KO anything on his team at this point. And it's just a matter of, do I have enough lives in the bank to get through the rest of the team? So as I go for Boom Burst. So, I figured that was safe against everything except Bisharp. And also just so that I didn't have to necessarily sacrifice my special attack right away. So that takes out Quillfish. In comes Bisharp. I'm pretty sure the calc showed Boom Burst not killing here. And also with T-Spikes up, I'm pretty sure I go to Garbodor here. Yes. So pivotal moment, and also where prep and watching your opponent's games is so important. I feel like this was a big moment in the match where Bisharp could have done a lot of things to me. And also, my opponent didn't realize that for both matches so far, I've brought Drain Punch. So he goes to the knockoff. And here he tries to set up on me. And, yeah, I'm a poison type, but I've got a 4 times effective move that's going to heal me. And now all of a sudden Garbodor's in a good spot. Now he brings in Sigilyph, and I know I have to get this switch right. So it's really about whether or not Avalugg can kill Sigilyph fast enough before its store power sweeps me. It goes for the roost. And here it gets up the reflect. So my thought process here is Ice Fang. I've got Strong Jaw this week on it again, and I'm just going to try and hit it as hard as I can, even with the reflect. I think it's a 3-hit KO. Yeah, it's roughly a 3-hit KO, but of course. So again, my opponent had every right to be salty about this. To get the freeze on the first one, especially with reflect up, is too bad. Um, especially when it's a 1 in 10 chance. But was the game over at this point? I don't know. I think in this case, if Sigilyph gets set up, but it's getting worn down, I guess it would just depend on whether or not A, another freeze happened, or B, whether or not it got set up in time and was able to roost off the damage because, then it comes down to a critical hit. So, I think the hacks really did matter there because Sigilyph was in a position to just sweep the rest of my team. So, sometimes you get a little bit of good luck, and sometimes you get really, really good luck, and it wins you the game. You can see the third one, critical hit. I mean, if one of those had been a crit, it would have been the same thing. But still, at this point, Avalugg body press. It's an electric type. You're not breaking through it because, well, there's nothing that can really hurt it. And that is basically going to be how I won the match. Um, so Avalugg with the huge cleanup. Yeah, I mean, FistToYourDoom left. Yeah, he was obviously salty, but Avalugg with the big late game cleanup. Uh, you know, the point of the match. I mean, yeah, you could say the hacks just straight up spoils. You know, uh, what was a close game and meant that it took all the other hacks out of the equation. It really came down to just that because my opponent had no chance at that point. The turning point in the match, I think, was Noivern with that flamethrower on Jolteon. But anyway, it was a good game to my opponent. I'm sorry that it ended that way. Really unfortunate. But we're on to week 5 next week. Don't know who my opponent is, but we are 1-3. Means there is still an outside chance to playoffs if we win all 3 of these matches. That's not super likely, but now I've got a feel for at least the top end of this team. We're going to see if my changes, as James suggested to me, factor into the final weeks, and we'll see. We'll give these boys a good go. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you really liked it, subscribe. I do these after every match during the season, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.